Hello and welcome to the Bundesliga show, a Thursday night edition for you guys. And tonight we're going to be focusing on the predictions ahead of week 6 as we get into October now. It seems like this season's been going a while, but we've still only had 5 match days up to now, doesn't it, Peter? And yeah, obviously the table's starting to hot up both at the top and the bottom. Still a few teams in the league that we're not really quite sure what direction their season's going to take yet so far. We've got obviously the three front runners, obviously Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen are on 13 points, and then obviously 1 point below them, RB Leipzig, who are also going well. And then obviously at the bottom, we've still got 5 teams who are winless as well, who will all be hoping to pick up wins in match day 6. So yeah, as you can see on the screen, we have the fixtures for the week. So yeah, very, very interesting curtain raiser on Friday evening as well, between TSG Hoffenheim and Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, for me, these are two sides who've made pretty good starts to the season points-wise, but for me, Hoffenheim have definitely been the better side performance-wise out of the two. I think Dortmund have been a little bit fortunate to be on the 11 points that they've managed to accrue so far this season. I didn't think they were particularly good last week against Wolfsburg, although they did get a pretty good win with a weakened 11 in that game. Should be a full 11 again in Kreisgau on Friday night. But for me, this game often has goals, actually. Hoffenheim-Dortmund, I think in the last 2 years, it's been 3-2. So, yeah, I think this is a fixture that tends to have goals. And, you know, most people will probably be tipping a narrow away win for Dortmund because they usually do win this fixture. But for me, I just think it's got a 2-2 draw written on it. And by the way, I have predicted the last 2 Friday night fixtures correct. So, yeah, get your money on that one. But I'm going to stick with a 2-2 draw between these two high-flying clubs. What about you, Peter?
Well, Mark, we should notify Kreskin once again because we have synced up. I am also predicting a 2-2 draw. This is based actually on some study of the tactics, the current set of tactics from both squads. I think that we talked about Pellegrino Matarazzo's tactics, his latest set of tactics a little bit on the Monday pod. It's really brilliant what he's done, what he did last week, bringing in Anton Stach in favor of Florian Grillitsch. And my basic guess, I think he's going to do a Grillitsch-Stach double six this time. And so the offense is really going to be clicking. We're probably going to see another goal from Maximilian Bayer. And Dortmund, I think that it was a very workmanlike win at Wolfsburg last week. Nicholas Füllkrug did come close to scoring his initial goal in a BVB tricot a couple times. I think he gets off the mark this time. And there's enough quality in that Dortmund squad. We probably get another goal, maybe off of Brandt, maybe off of Royce if he starts, potentially off of Bino Gittens, who improved, the young Englishman. So, yes, I'm also tipping a 2-2 draw. Don't know if you're ready for the reveal yet, Mark, but we'll be hoping that's the scoreline in Kraichgau.
Yeah, I think we can reveal it now, really. The fact that me and Peter will be attending the game in Kreisgau in Sinsheim as well on Friday night. We'll be meeting over there tomorrow evening and hopefully getting a really, really good video, new vlog for you guys. It will actually be our first Bundesliga one as well, though, that me and Peter have attended. So obviously it'll be our 3rd game together, but yeah, we've been covered pretty much all of football. I mean, women's football, Zweitenliga, and now obviously the top tier as well. And we're looking forward to it. Are you looking forward to this one, Peter, as well?
Absolutely. We're going to have a good time. We're going to hopefully talk to some Hoffenheim fans. They're eager to speak. We'll show you how good the BVB Ultras are. This is, of course, a match of great significance because it was the Dortmund fans who initially put Dietmar Hopp in the crosshairs, sparking all sorts of controversy there. So when these two fan bases meet up, there's a lot to discuss, and we'll be hoping to bring some scenes from both fan bases to our viewers.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the clash between the clubs because it's just two clubs with totally different mentalities, isn't it? You know, obviously Dortmund from the Ruhrpott working class club, whereas Hoffenheim are more probably middle class club, you would say, really in that area around Kreisgau. And obviously the way that the clubs were founded is just basically polar opposite. So it's going to be interesting, the game and the way the fans react and any potential protests from the Dortmund fans, which could be expected as well. So look out for that. That should be going live sometime next week, I would imagine. So yeah, we're looking forward to it and enjoy the game as well. So yeah, moving on to the Saturday game, some really interesting fixtures as well. No less than VfL Wolfsburg versus Eintracht Frankfurt. I mean, where do you start with Frankfurt? I mean, the games have just been so boring, literally, this season. Like, their season has just been like the most boring Bundesliga season I can ever imagine after the first 5 games, really. Like, I don't think any of their games have been even close to being entertaining. And obviously 4 draws, I think a couple of 0-0s in there as well. And it's just not been entertaining at all. I mean, they don't concede many, but they score very, very few as well. I think there's only been 7 goals involved in the first 5 games, incredibly, from Frankfurt this season, which is pretty dull, to say the least. And they come into this game on the back of a dire 0-0 against Freiburg, which was as bad a game as you're going to see on last Sunday evening. Wolfsburg, on the other side, I think are going well. I think, that I was a bit disappointed with them at Dortmund last week because I felt with the 11 that Dortmund went with, they could have got a point or even more if they'd attacked a bit more. But the way Kovac set them up, he seemed happy to take away a point. And obviously the goal was relatively late. I think it was around about 70 minutes when Royce scored the winning goal for the BVB. But for me, this is a game that Wolfsburg have got to attack more because, Frankfurt are so blunt up top. I just don't see where their goals are coming from. Are they going to start with Marmouche? He's not really been prolific, and it just looks like they're really, really struggling up top. And for me, this probably should be a home win, really. I think Wolfsburg have been good at home so far. And, Jonas Wind, I like the look of Meyer as well, the Croatia international who came into the squad. He looks a decent player. There are a lot of good players. Mahler has made a very good start in a Wolfsburg shirt as well. For me, this is going to be a 2-0 home win. What do you think, Peter?
We sync up once more. This is a fairly obvious tip. The reason that Frankfurt are struggling in the attack, obviously, is because they lost both Randall Colomowani and Rafael Santos Borre on the final on-transfer deadline day. Marcos Krösche has admitted that this was kind of a fluff on his part. They really weren't expecting PSG to call with that last-minute 95 million euro offer for Colomowani. So yes, you have Jessica Gunkamp and you have Omar Marmouche up front. You're also, of course, missing Jesper Lindstrom. Faris Chaibi has not really been able to fill his boots just yet. I was writing a story for Bully News earlier in the week about the long-awaited return of Lucas Alario, the savior of Frankfurt. So that's how bad things are for Frankfurt. Kovac has a tendency to mismanage his tactics. I think he did so last week. I don't know why he took Patrick Wimmer and Jakub Kaminski to freshen up his wings off. That really made no sense against a team so strong on the flanks as Dortmund. I'll bet that he gets his tactics correct this time, and it should be an easy 2-0 win over a team that just simply doesn't have anything to offer at this juncture.
Yeah. It's hard to see where Frankfurt's season's going, really, because it's just they're not going to get relegated. They're not that bad, but it's hard to see them winning that many games, because they just, and it's disappointing after so many good seasons, especially under Oliver Glasner and previously under obviously Kovac himself as well did well at Frankfurt, but this season just looks so dull from their perspective. And until January, when they can probably get some reinforcements with that very, very nice looking bank account of theirs at the moment. But until then, the roster just looks weak, really, especially in the attacking positions, But yeah, it should be an easy home win, this one. Yeah, moving on to another game, which, to be honest, looks like a pretty obvious result to me at the moment, unfortunately, for the Rhineland-Pfalzers as well, the Mainz 05. But for me, this is just Mainz. I just don't know where they're going at all. Last week against Augsburg, they looked good for the first 20 minutes. They actually looked good, and they scored a good goal through that man, Ajork. And then they looked like they had a second, but for a very, very narrow offside. If they could have got the second there, they probably have won that game, and who knows. But they ended up defending appallingly and lost the game in Augsburg, and now they look really in a bad position. And to be honest with you, there's been a lot of murmurs this week about Bo Svensson's future at the club. And for me, they should stick with him because I think he is a really good manager, but he just didn't have the best transfer window. And a lot of players have just gone off form. Basically, that's the problem. And there's so many players that were good last season. Hansen Olsen as well. They lost Stark. They lost Hack. They've lost so many good players in that squad. And yeah, I am a little bit worried about them. When you said, Peter, on the first game of the season that you think that Mainz could go down, I'll be honest, I didn't see it at all after that game. But basically what you said has turned out to be very true. And they look the worst team in the league along with Darmstadt at the moment. And Leverkusen on the other side are just world beaters, basically. They've got the best coach in the league, as everyone keeps saying in Germany these days with Xabi Alonso. They've got a squad just packed with quality, and this is going to be the kind of game that man, Victor Boniface, is going to fancy another 2 or even 3 goals, to be honest with you. And, Hoffmann is scoring. Wirtz is not disappointing at all. And I'm going to go for a very, very easy 3-0 away win here. What do you think, Peter?
If you happen to like goals, this is going to be your fixture. I am actually going to tip a 5-1 victory for Germany's Red Company team for the WX11. And Mainz are, well, really, it's a combination of the transfer window and injuries, of course. Losing Hack, Hanscha Olsen, who just underwent surgery this week and is going to be out for several months. Danny Da Costa is also questionable. Philip Mwene is questionable. Sylvain Widmer is not ready to return yet. Bo Svensson's back three has been full of players who don't naturally play in that position this season, including Dominic Kor and Edmilson Fernandez. And that's the primary reason why the defense has been so leaky. And with the injury concerns stacking up ahead of this one, things are really going to get ugly. I mean, there's help on the way. Anwar El Ghazi has been signed, the former Villa player, on a free, and Joshua Guilavogui, the former Wolfsburg captain, was also signed this week. But I don't think either player is fully match fit yet. They've both been integrated into training, but Svensson noted at his presser today that neither one of them is ready to start. So this is going to be pretty ugly for the Rheinhessen, for the boys from the Pfälzer capital, one of the rivals of my beloved FC Kaiserslautern. I do think that Bo Svensson stays for a good long while because he is a very, very good head coach. And I'm not just saying that because I work closely with the Dane. I do think that he will find a way to get this ship righted at some point. But first, you have to travel through this adversity, and it's going to be 5-1 is my tip for this one. It's, if you want to see goals, tune in. If you are more of someone who likes defensive artistry, it's going to get ugly. Yeah,
it's going to be that same 11 from Leverkusen again, and it's hard to see anything other than a heavy win. I wouldn't disagree with the goals in this game. But another game between two sides in very, very contrasting veins of form. And it's once again the home team who are on the worst end of that, FC Köln, with only 1 point on the board. One thing I would say about Köln, though, I don't think they've been that bad, actually. I think they've been a little bit unlucky to only have 1 point on the board. And I think, Peter, you tipped a board draw last week against Werder, but it ended up being a pretty decent Saturday evening clash between the two traditional clubs. But this game, this is going to be another game that Stuttgart really fancy a win in. Obviously, a lot of people have been making the fact that they've not had the hardest start fixture-wise. And this is another game that the away side will definitely fancy getting a win in. For me, it will be a little bit tighter, this one. I don't think that Stuttgart will run away with it. I think that, there's so many good players in that Stuttgart team at the moment. No less than Guirassy, but also the likes of Chris Furyk, who gets better and better. Silas, if he has an on day, but he is a little bit inconsistent, Silas, but we'll have to see. Mio is going to fancy his chances against his Köln defense as well. And for me, it will still be a win for Stuttgart, but I don't think it'll be an easy win. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 away day success for VfB Stuttgart. What do you think, Peter?
Well, much to Rory's chagrin, perhaps Christian's as well, I actually have an upset tip in this particular case. As I was thinking about this match and thinking about Guirassy as I was having a walk earlier today, interesting factoid, Guirassy played for 3 seasons at Köln. Many people don't even remember that. When he played 3 seasons in the Cathedral City. They couldn't even get his name spelled correctly on the tricot. He was that forgettable. And of course, now he's in this monstrous form. But Stefan Baumgart's Geisböcke are very compact. They're very defensively disciplined. And I think that they can hold Stuttgart. There's some reasons for this. We found out today that both Dan Axel Zagadou and Silas are questionable for the match. They were unable to train with the team today. And as I was noting on the Monday pod, much to my shock, Dan Axel Zagadou, together with Nubel, is really, really running this build-up engine out of the back. So I think we may have some problems for Stuttgart here. I think that Köln in their 4-2-3-1, which is extremely tight, will be able to sort of manage Sebastian Hoeneß's 4-1-4-1. I think they neutralize it. I think it is a tight game. I'm tipping the same scoreline, but I'm going with a 2-1 win, and I'm going to say that Köln, in front of their hometown fans, get their first victory of the season. And I'm going to go even further and say that young German-American Damian Downs, who came close to scoring off the bench last week, comes off the bench to score this week. That is my insane upset special tip of the week.
Yeah, well, one of your upsets came good last week with Hoffenheim winning away at Union. So, yeah, we'll have to see on that one. But, yeah, a game between two winless teams. We saw, obviously, Augsburg get the win last week in the battle between the two winless sides. And once again, Bochum will host another winless side in Mönchengladbach. But for me, Bochum, basically the reason why they're still a Bundesliga team is because of the home form. They are very strong at home. And once again, they drew with Dortmund. And they're by far their best performance of the season when they drew at home against Dortmund earlier in the season in the derby. This is another derby as well in Nordrhein-Westfalen. I don't know, Gladbach, I'm really, really unsure on them at the moment, really. I just don't know where their season's going to go. I actually didn't have high hopes for them. But the weird thing is with Gladbach, they've actually performed a little bit better than I thought they would, but they've still not won a game. That's the problem. And obviously their 2 away games have actually been 4-all and 3-all draws as well, which is pretty crazy, obviously at Augsburg and Darmstadt respectively. They should be able to beat Bochum, really, but I just feel as though, again, Bochum at home, they don't lose many games at home. They really don't. Obviously, they were woeful last week against Bayern, and they took a heavy, heavy mauling in the Allianz last week. But I just feel as though they will improve in this game, and they'll get a point. I'm not going to tip them to win, but I feel as though they will get a point. As long as Hoffman starts, so they missed him last week, Philip Hoffman. But I do believe they'll get a 1-all draw here. Peter?
Yes, I mean, at Bochum at home, I couldn't agree more. Kvankara for Gladbach is questionable once again. I don't think that he'll be able to start. I will say that Gerardo Seoane against Leipzig last week, he did a really great job tactically, shutting down the Leipzig 4-2-2-2. Now, I mean, with Gladbach, you have a trainer who is tactically, he has a good tactical acumen. He's probably he's gone for too many experiments thus far this season, and I think he's cost this squad points. Gladbach have more, the better squad. They have more talent, but without Kvankara, I don't think it's really possible for them. So I'm going to go ahead and tip a narrow 1-0 win for Bochum in this particular instance.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, moving on to the next game. This is a game that really looks exciting to me, definitely. 2 teams who have had fantastic stories, Heidenheim under Frank Schmidt and Union Berlin under Urs Fischer. Obviously, the fact that, again, Union, you're not quite sure where their season's going to go, though, because are they going to prioritize the Champions League and try and get through? Because obviously they've got the home game in midweek, which obviously is an absolutely massive event as well. It's against Braga, which is maybe not the most exciting game in that group. Obviously, they'll be more excited about the games against Real and Napoli, but it's still a massive occasion. I would imagine it probably will be a sellout in the Olympiastadion. But how much are they going to prioritize this game at Heidenheim? Will Urs Fischer kind of sacrifice the league season in order to try and get into the last 16 of the Champions League? I'm not sure, really. But one thing for sure is that Heidenheim are playing well at home, very, very well. They look like a team that can score goals. And, Union, I've not really been that impressed with Union in general this season so far. I feel as though they've made a lot of signings. The squad on paper looks better than in previous seasons. The likes of Fofana, Folland, Aronson, and obviously Bonucci, the kind of ultimate marquee signing. But none of them, for me, have really started that well, with the exception of maybe Fofana. And for me, I can actually see Heidenheim getting a shock win here, actually. I just feel as though at home they look really good. And a lot of people, I've been talking to a lot of people in Germany this week, and so many people are still tipping Heidenheim to get relegated, which surprises me a little bit. But a lot of people say it's a long season, and I can see why they think that. They've not got the deepest squad, but for me, they look a side that are more than good enough to retain the status this year in the league. And I actually see them getting another home win here. I think a 2-1 home win for me. What do you think, Peter?
I'm actually going to agree with you on this. I think that Heidenheim are very well poised for an upset here. Union have lost 4 on the trot. There are going to be some squad rotations. That's easily anticipated. I think that you'll probably see Roussillon and Trimmel start in the wingback roles. We talked a lot about Bonucci on the Monday pod. It looks like he's the only available candidate for central defense because Knoche is still injured and out. The front 4 that you have in Urs Fischer's 3-5-2 double stack, it works better with Fofana, in my opinion, but and that's probably his opinion as well. That's why I think he's going to save Fofana for the Champions League. And this one has upset written all over it. Frank Schmidt has prepared his side well tactically for every last game. It was my pleasure this afternoon to write an article for Bully News on Leonard Maloney, the former the Köpenick native who came up through FC Union's academy. He never really caught on with the Eisernen. He was loaned out to Chemnitz. He played for the Dortmund reserves, and he's really, really found a place in Frank Schmidt's squad. And while I was writing the piece, I learned that he has racked up more kilometers than anybody else in the Bundesliga.
Wow.
And that's more than guys like Elias Skiri, who really covers a lot of ground. Also, Granit Xhaka, I figured, would be leading the Bundesliga in total kilometers. But no, it's Leonard Maloney. It's this young German-American kid who wants to play for the U.S. national team. So I think he's going to be running hard. I think we're going to see a really nice set of tactics from Frank Schmidt. And I think the hometown fans in Heidenheim are going to get something to celebrate. I like that scoreline. 2-1 sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. Then moving on to the big game of the weekend. It's one of those kind of classic games. We've had a lot of them already this season, actually. We've already seen Leverkusen, Leipzig. We've seen Bayern Munich, Leverkusen. And now we've got another one, Leipzig versus Bayern Munich. And if the other 2 games are anything to go by, this is going to be a cracker on Saturday evening. I mean, who wins the game is very tough. But I think if it was a couple of weeks ago, I would have been confident that Leipzig will get a home win. But I believe that Bayern in the last 3 games have been really good. I think they played well against Leverkusen in what was a really, really high-quality match in general. I think they were very good against Man United too, even though, they probably should have made it easier than it was. But they still won that game easily, in my opinion, against one of the top Premiership teams. And then last week, obviously, that destruction against Bochum was very impressive as well. So that makes it a little bit tougher. But I still feel as though Leipzig, what they're cooking at the moment under Marco Rose is just looking really good. And I still feel as though they are capable of winning this game with home advantage. And I've been saying for a while that I'm confident that this might be the year that Bayern Munich won't win the title, simply because I believe that the quality of the opposition at the top of the league is really, really good this year. And RB Leipzig are one of those sides who are very good. And they have the belief now that they can beat Bayern. They've beaten them the last 2 times they've played very comfortably as well, and both at the Allianz Arena too. Obviously, Olmo, as far as I know, won't be playing this game, which is unfortunate because he's been the thorn in Bayern's side a lot in the last season or 2. But obviously he won't be playing, but there's more than enough quality in that roster to still get the results. And I'm going to go for an entertaining game, but I think a 3-1 home win. I believe that Leipzig can get the win here. And it's going to be a 2-1 until late on, and then Leipzig will seal the goal through a Openda. That'll be my prediction. I'm going to go for a slight shock here, because it's always a shock when Bayern lose, but 3-1 home win for me. What do you think, Peter?
I'm going to disagree with you here and say that Bayern, coming off the performance last week and also a pretty smooth performance in the Pokal midweek, are going to exact revenge on Leipzig for the Super Cup fiasco when they, of course, lost 0-3. And it was Olmo who scored a hat-trick in that game. A lot of people may remember that match as Harry Kane had been signed by Bayern earlier in the day, and without even being able to participate in a squad training session, he was suited up and came in off the bench. So Bayern are highly motivated to win this game. I think that Tuchel is going to build a 4-4-2 with Serge Gnabry out. That actually puts Matthijs Tel into the starting lineup. I think we probably will definitely see some goals from Openda, Sesko, Poulsen, whoever starts up front. But this is going to be a lot of fun. The Saturday evening Topspiel, I encourage everybody to tune into it at 18:30 Central European time there. And I'm thinking 4-2 win for Bayern in a shootout, maybe another Kane Doppelpack brace, as he continues to shatter some records. So Harry Kane fans can tune in as well and probably see some good stuff from the Englishman.
Yeah, interesting. But it's good. There's going to be goals in this one, I'm confident. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So, moving on to another game, which is, two traditional clubs again, Darmstadt versus Werder Bremen. This is another hard one to predict because, Darmstadt, away from home, they're not going to get much at all. But if they are going to stay up or even come close to staying up this season and compete in the Bundesliga, this is the kind of game they need to be targeting to win ultimately against teams that are probably going to be around about the bottom half at home. This is where they need to be clocking up the wins. And, it's a hard one because before that Gladbach game, I was just so worried for Darmstadt, really. I just thought they looked woefully poor, in truth. But that game gave me hope, and they should have won that game. A bit of kind of lack of knowledge in the second half kind of cost them 3 points. But the first half was a genuinely really good performance from the Hessen team. Bremen, on the other side, they look like homers to me this season. They've been very good at home, but away from home, they weren't really very good at fellow promoted side Heidenheim last time out, and they were well beaten there, really, shipping 4 goals. So I don't know, really, but I think I'm going to go for I think there might be goals in this. It might be a little bit scrappy. There might be some mistakes, but I think there will be goals. And I think I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw here, actually. What do you think, Peter?
I was surprised to learn that Darmstadt had actually scored some goals in the Bundesliga this season. I think earlier today I was having to look up who did score these goals, because it certainly wasn't the strikers. I think Melham's got a couple. Maglika scored one. Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, has Luca Pfeiffer or Fraser Hornby, have they?
No. Pfeiffer. Yeah, I think he's got an assist or two, but no goal.
He's hit the post twice. So
yeah.
I think that Bremen actually are poised for liftoff, particularly after that pulling out that victory in Köln last week. Of course, Rafael Santos Borré got his debut goal in a Bremen tricot with Marvin Duksch on the assist. It looks like Borré can slot into Füllkrug's old role there seamlessly. Linen, the central pivot midfielder who sometimes operates as a sweeper, is coming into form. Olivier Deman as the left wing back is also really rapidly improving. Romano Schmid has stepped on the gas, and he's looking good. And you had the likes of Njinma scoring off the bench. Let's not forget that Naby Keita, I don't think he's going to be fit enough to start in this one, but I think if something goes wrong, he could be inserted at halftime. And I think that that's precisely what's going to happen. Darmstadt get off to a 1-0 lead at the half, probably through Melhem. But then Bremen with another comeback victory, probably inspired a little bit by Keita. Bremen with the 2-1 win here.
Interesting, yeah. And then the final game on Sunday evening, it's again Freiburg, but obviously this time they have had a week break, so they should be a little bit fitter and fresher. that this is the kind of game that Freiburg really need to win, to be honest, because their season is also petering. I'm not going to say petering out; it's way too early to talk about that. But I mean, if they want to be in and around that top 6, 7, which is to an extent that's what the Freiburg fans have got used to now. That's what they're used to, really, being in and around the top 6, top 7, and they'll feel as though that's where they should be again this season with the squad they have. Augsburg, on the other hand, they got a good win last week, and they're not doing badly, really. They got 5 points from the first 5 games, and that includes away games at Bayern and Leipzig. So realistically, they're not going to get points from them. So they've taken 5 points from the 3 games that they realistically could have got something, and that's a good tally. And they've actually got some decent fixtures coming up as well. They've got this game against Freiburg, then they got Darmstadt at home, and then I think after the break, then the international break, they go to Heidenheim as well. So this is a game that Augsburg, Enrico Maaßen, will be telling his troops that they can get something out of this game at Freiburg because, Freiburg haven't really hit the straps yet, although they do have a decent tally of 7 points from 5 games. We've not really seen Grifo in top form yet. Gregorovich is really struggling as well, the former Augsburg man. He looks like, his best days are maybe behind him, and they are missing that number 9 at the moment, Freiburg, which they've always had. I mean, Hurler is a great player, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to bang in goals every game, is he? And Höfler also, I wouldn't say, has made the best start to the season. So it's going to be an interesting one, this. I believe that Augsburg, if they really fight hard enough and they kind of iron out those defensive mistakes, I think they can get a point. But I'm still going to go for a home win here. I think under the lights, in the Europa Park Stadion, I think Freiburg will get back to winning ways. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 home win. What do you think, Peter?
Exact same scoreline and exact same rationale, more or less. I think that, Höller can score, Grifo can score, Doan can score. The goals will come eventually for the Breisgauer. That's probably the way I see it. But it'll be a tight contest for the first 45 minutes. Would be my tip.
Yeah, I think that often happens with Freiburg home games. The first half is really tight, and then they just show the quality, and they've got such good fans as well. And I think that pushes them on specifically at home. But obviously, they do have more quality in that roster than Augsburg, and they can make the higher quality substitutions if needed. So, yeah. But, yeah, just have a quick look at the table predictor as well. Let's have a quick look at that. So, if my predictions are right, then as you can see, it's going to be Bayer Leverkusen who go into week 7 as table toppers with a plus 14 goal difference. Pretty impressive, that one. RB Leipzig, obviously, that's the big one, really, isn't it? Whether RB Leipzig can make that move and beat Bayern Munich, which they will be hoping to do. If they do that, they will go into the weekend, out of the weekend in second place. And Stuttgart and Bayern Munich will make up the top 4. Going to the bottom, it's going to be Mainz still bottom with a pretty woeful goal difference of minus 13, if my predictions are right. And Köln, again, nearly boys, but not quite getting enough points on the board, will slip into that bottom 2 with Darmstadt moving into the relegation playoff, courtesy of that possible point against Werder. So what did you get, Peter?
Well, my top 4, based on the fact that we split the difference on the Bayern-Leipzig match, has Bayern topping the table at the end of the match day. Leverkusen in second, tight on points, but behind on goal differential. Hoffenheim and Stuttgart round out the top 4 with Leipzig and Dortmund in the European places. Moving down to the bottom of the table, considering the fact that we split the difference on Köln, Stuttgart. Köln are just out of the relegation zone with Gladbach, Darmstadt, and Mainz. The 3 remaining teams that don't have a win. One of our listeners pointed out on the Monday pod that this is the first time in history that after 5 match days, 5 Bundesliga teams have gone without a win. I had to look that up, and he was very much correct. I think it was DK or NY. So thanks for that little factoid tidbit. We have some well-informed viewers and listeners. And that's my tip was that at the end of the weekend, we'll have 3 winless teams.
Yeah, you're going for 2 of those teams to win. I'm going for none of them to win, actually. Yeah, so we'll have to see on that one. But yeah, thanks again for joining us, guys. It was a pleasure, as always. And we'll be back for the review show on Monday to find out how good our predictions were. And hopefully with Tuesday, Wednesday kind of time, we will be getting that fantastic vlog out for you guys. So yeah, thank you very much for your continued support. If you enjoyed what you saw today, then remember to check out at Over the Bar FB and at Over the Bar Extra on Twitter. And then don't forget to keep liking, commenting, and subscribing, because we are growing and we want to grow even more. So thank you very much, guys, and see you on Monday. Bye-bye, guys.